Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Virtual Breakfast Sessions. I'm Larry Sashin, your host. We're here today to speak about event and catering season. The panel here is put together to give you last-minute tips and techniques on how to grab that extra party, that extra event, give you some tips and techniques on how to do that. But before we go into that, let's introduce our panel. So I'm going to just go around my screen here. And David, you're to my right. So David, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for having me. My name is David Pellon, and I am the managing partner and director of catering for New York Hospitality Group. And our beautiful company is comprised of two catering companies, Cape Berry Events, the Great American Barbecue Company, and a great restaurant in White Plains, New York, Sam's of Getney Way, which has a banquet facility and about 150-seat restaurant. We also manage cafes in the White Plains Hospital, and we also have a cafe at the White Plains Library called the Everyday Healthy Cafe, kind of like a organic Starbucks. And that is what I do, folks. Welcome.
Thank you, David. Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica Karbelnik. Some of you may have seen me on Top Chef Canada. I'm the current winner as well as my husband, Josh Karbelnik, who is my business partner. We are from Toronto, and we have our own catering company called Carbs Catering and Private Events. We specialize in in-home custom tasting menus, where we actually bring the restaurant to people's homes. We do large scale events too, weddings and corporate events, but mainly specializing in the restaurant experience in the comfort of your own home.
Thank you, Erica. Bob.
Oh, me, my turn.
Oh, you, yes, you.
I am the chef and owner of Pinch Food Design here in New York City. We've been around for 12 years, and before that I owned another catering company for 21 years. And I started as the sous chef of Glorious Food back in 1983. So I am all about catering.
Hey, thank you, Bob. Mike.
I'm Mike Ganzo. I'm a business consultant. Voice of Reason Consulting is the name of my company. And today I'm trying to be Larry's left hand in monitoring the chat. And
Thank you, Mike. And my partner and co-host, Fred Clashman.
Good morning. I'm Fred Clashman. I'm the editor and publisher of Total Food Service. So glad to see catering back. Very exciting to see venues filling up again.
Thank you. Thank you. Please, audience, please mute your microphones. All right. So it's been strange times. You'd go into the stores and they were selling Halloween, Thanksgiving and Christmas all at the same time. It's a strange retail situation. And you know, everybody knows when retail makes their money. It's called Black Friday. But in catering and events, it's called November and December. And we're here to talk about that today. And to kick it off, why don't we start with you, David? David, what does Cape Berry do that's different than everyone else in White Plains to bring in the people?
Well, you know, over the past 30 years of developing a system is, you know, the key. We are involved in a lot of different organizations that help us at the ground level of connecting with people. But really, it's our process where now we're using social media. We're using a very deep bank of customers that we've had for many years to reach out to them, to reintroduce who we are, what we do, and then to entice them with great menus. We're always looking for value. It's very hard to figure what does value mean anymore when it comes to the cost of goods and services that we're facing today. But it really is a process. This is, you know, any business. You have your process, and you know, I've been trying to work with my team members to be consistent in what their process is. Is it how many times you're reaching out a week, who you're reaching out to, and how are we going to target to get that initial sale or that second sale or that referral. So that's what we're doing now to grab that business that maybe we haven't had in the last 2 or 3 years. Let people know that we're there. I lost you, Larry.
And consistently let us know you're there. Not just you don't just pop up during time to bring in catering events. It's a consistent flow. Is that correct?
Exactly. It's a consistent flow. We're always planning. We're always working with our marketing company. We actually created a yearly calendar of things that we have to do a month ahead of time or 2 months ahead to target the sales that we need coming up in that particular season. We're working on Christmas menus now. Then we go into wedding mode, right? January, February, March, we have a beautiful venue called the CB Rich Mansion. So the sales season for that is right after the holidays. A lot of people get engaged. So now we're selling weddings January, February, March. And what does that look like in our catering, our catering rubric? What is our marketing? How are we going to look and be different than our competition? And it's an ongoing live organism. It's constant conversations with your team and bringing out the expertise in your team, as well as surrounding yourself with a good marketing team, which between you and I is always a challenge, right? Having the right people around you to get your message or consistent message out.
All right. Thank you.
That's what we're doing now.
Thank you. Erica, what about your group?
Yeah, so we love to stay on social media. Social media is kind of running the world now. And we've got a few different platforms that we are constantly outreaching on. We're running ads. My husband and I, we try to do as many pop-ups in the city as we possibly can. Working with different chefs as well, because people can't always necessarily book us because we are so booked far in advance. So we do those random pop-ups here and there where people can actually come to different restaurants, try our food, see what we do. And we explain in every pop-up who we are, what we do, letting people know, we're not just a catering company. We bring the restaurant to you. We do custom tasting menus. So we don't have lists to choose from. We're completely separate from every catering company that you will find in Toronto. We don't have a website. You can't pick from a package. There is no $75 menu, $85 menu. We have a starting price, and we let the client know that we work one-on-one with you to create a custom menu specifically for your event. It makes it more personal. We're a firm believer in food is personal, so we make this experience personal. And we want people to have the feeling of being in a restaurant, but being in the comfort of in their own home. And I know a lot of people during COVID had missed going out to eat, and they really missed that atmosphere. So we wanted to bring that directly to the consumer, rather than them having to go out. We also come with a full setup. So, we're bringing candles, we're bringing florals, we're bringing linens, we're bringing printed menus, we're bringing you a server. We are also an event planning company. So we can base our catering completely around whatever style of event that you're doing. And it's just constant outreach to people.
Okay. And Bob.
Oh, so we created Pinch Food Design, I guess 2010, after I had been catering for 30 years in Manhattan. And, New York is the party capital of the world. There's so many corporate events and weddings. And this particular company, Pinch Food Design, we design our own food furniture. So it's a mixture, it's a half food company and a half design company, and we don't use regular chafing dishes. We don't put glasses on bars. We attempted and probably succeeded in elevating catering to where restaurants were, which were very explorative, and realizing that the medium that we have is not just plates that we do in restaurants, is that we are able to extend them to what we call interactions. And we've developed some pop-ups, and we've got a huge 160-piece furniture inventory. And so it's a brand. And then, so I don't really, to the answer to your question, I don't really know where the parties come from. They call us, and we take the parties. We'll do them. We in October averaged about 60 parties a week. That's averaging from 65 people to, we had a few over 1,000. So we're in the, I can't wait for literally December 20th, the season dies and we all can go to sleep for a good 2 or 3 weeks. But I don't know if that answers the question.
That answers a whole lot of questions. It sounds like you're also in set design.
Yeah.
Basically, you do food theater.
That's what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is get companies, corporations, and weddings, get them a return on investment. There's no better thing for a bride that everybody calls and says that was the best wedding I ever attended. That was so cool, and for a corporate event, people start throwing money at the corporation, or they achieve what they want to achieve. I mean, the reason we called it pinch is because we're just a little pinch of something for your whole party. We don't take over your whole party, but we add that little pinch, like a pinch of spice, pinch of saffron, to make your event better. And that's sort of what we focused on. And it's a lot of fun. It's been, this has been my most fun company because of the response and because of the excitement surrounding it.
Okay. So we have 3 different companies, 3 different sizes, 3 different approaches to things, but they all, Bob doesn't know how the outreach is, but I'm sure they have people working behind him that are doing all the outreach to people. Let's talk about the planning stage of each event, how you're doing it, how do you personalize these things so that people get what they want? David.
It's a great question. How do we create an event, a personalized event for each of our clients is basically where, that really separates the okay companies from the cookie cutter companies. And we are a personalized design company. We do have some structure in menus, but what we do is we work with our client, we talk to them. We want to get a feel for what they're looking for. And it's all in that kind of vetting process. When you're talking about a large scale event, there is a lot of personal attention that goes into that.
Let me break in for a second. When people come to you, they know they want a party, but do they have an idea in their head what they want? And is the idea that's in their head what they end up getting? Or is your skill, your creative, what you know in your head, do you move them to what you think will make them happy after speak to them? How do you get from this, I want to have a party, to having this party?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think anybody in the catering business understands what will not work, even when it's dreamt up by someone based on, the venue or the circumstances. So it's really your job in sales to create a template, or not create like a design and a thought process for them, and kindly poke holes in their ideas where they realize that that's not going to be feasible or work, or in any case be good for their clients. I say to people, I can do anything for you. You have $1 million. I could build a city for you. That's no problem. So it comes down to budget, and it comes down to being realistic. So Larry, when we start working and designing an event, we're going to kind of take our experience and kind of direct them into the right product line, the right service idea based on where we are and what we're doing. And then we're going to poke holes in their crazy ideas and hopefully bring it to a point where it's something that we can execute in a responsible manner. Because when we're caterers, we have to execute this. So there has to be a responsibility on our end on how can we do this and how can we make it fun for their guests and attainable for our staff as well. So it's all about having that experience, and you'll learn that over years. Erica and I know Bob, I know about his company, and we have these ideas that work and don't work, and we know them pretty well. They're black and white in our head, and we just have to be able to poke holes in their crazy ideas and get them streamlined to our of what we can do. And that's really how it works.
When you say crazy ideas, I think there's I want burgers and milkshakes and ice cream cones at my party is a 90% of all event requests, right? I want comfort food.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, how do you curb, how do you, especially in your business, Erica, you've got no blueprint. You've got an open palette. So how do you get that bride that has been dreaming about this event since she was 6? How do you get her into reality, but keep her in fantasy at the whole time?
We listen. It's a big part about what we do is actually sitting down with the client and listen to their requests, listen to what they want. Tell me what your dream wedding looks like. And we don't beat around the bush. We let them know, listen, okay, this is what you want, but if you're giving me a budget this big, that's not what you're getting. You have to be reasonable. And, we come across this a lot, that there are people that want everything handed to them on a gold platter, but they've got, they don't have the pockets to do it. So then it's laying it out and letting them know logistically why we can't do it. At the end of the day, if you want to go find another company that you think that you can get that experience from, please. They generally come back because they realize it's not feasible what I'm asking. So we then take their idea and we say, okay, we can't do that, but this is what we can do. Let's get it as close to the mark as possible to make your dream wedding happen. And we create, it's kind of like reverse psychology a little bit. You create a different picture for them, but make it seem like it's their idea. So they start having a different idea of what this could actually look like and how special you can make it within the budget that they're looking for.
Okay. Bob, any similarities, any differences?
Well, what we do is we design lines of, like I said, food furniture, food displays, trays, pop-ups, bars, all with sort of some experiential component that where the food and the design needs to work together, or the beverage and the design needs to work together. So there's like wine flowing through tubes and beignets shooting out of a wall. We basically will customize a lot of our food. Obviously, if someone wants a certain culture theme, or they want to mix Hawaiian and Mexican food together because that's their wedding plan, and we will logo certain pieces and we will make them have color. But it's sort of like we're the difference between a custom suit and an Armani suit. You can buy a custom suit, which is great. It fits perfectly and you can go and the tailor will do what you want to do, which is custom. Or you can get an Armani suit where they've designed it and they've spent 6 months or years and they put everything into it. That's sort of what we're leaning with Pinch Food Design now, which is designing something that's tried and true and will give someone a great experience. a lot of times when people come to us, they know what they want, but they don't know what exists. So we usually have to have them come in, have a tasting, sort of show them what exists, because even as I'm explaining it right now, I'm sure that people that are listening have no idea what I'm saying. I don't even know if I'm explaining it well. That's kind of what we do, and we stay tried and true, and we sort of give people, I mean, it's like when you go to a restaurant or you go to, let's say, Per Se, you don't walk in and say, okay, I'd like a chicken parmesan and some spaghetti and red sauce. You let them do what they do, and we hopefully want our clients to let us do what we do well.
So to put an idea and some kind of point of reference into the viewers' heads, I tried to explain that we have 3 different groups, 3 different sizes, 3 different target audiences. David, what is your average per person price that we're talking about?
Well, I just want to remind everyone, we have 3 different catering concepts. So all 3 are quite different. We have the Great American Barbecue Company, which is 100% off-premise catering. We're only operational from May to the end of October. That is we created this we made this a business years ago. It's a very cookie cutter. You have your 4 menus. You want A, B, C, or D. And this has really helped us streamline our business. That average is about $35 a person starting for food. And then there's a lot of great add-ons that you can do. Mostly when you add staff in on something like the Great American Barbecue Company, I've seen about $60 is average per person to $70 per person off-prem. When we get into the custom design capability events and we're doing large events and galas, even from the social aspects, full service, I'm seeing about $100, $110 to $200 a person, depending on, how many people we're serving and what's going to happen at that party. And then, we're very fortunate. We have a wonderful restaurant in White Plains, Sam's of Getney Way. It is a beautiful restaurant. It's a great template for what we do. We have a banquet room for up to 110 people, and we also have other sections that are private in the restaurant. Our average there is running with tax and service probably about $70 a person. When you're done with your party food starts in the mid-40s, people are adding on bars, and then there's service and tax. So that's where we're landing right now, which is probably about 15% more than it was a few years ago.
Okay, thank you. Erica.
Yeah, our average for guests, it depends on what package you're choosing, but if you're looking at the custom sit-down tasting menu, our starting price is $175 per person. Generally, we're averaging about $200 to $225 because that price will vary depending on how many courses you'd like to do. So $175 is for a 4-course custom tasting menu. Generally, we're averaging around anywhere from $200 to $225 per person, with people wanting to do a 6 to 8 course tasting menu. And then if you're going for a buffet, depending if it's lunch or dinner, larger scale events, we're realistically looking at anywhere from $125 to $155 per person.
Okay. And Bob.
I'm back of house, so I'm not big on the knowing the pricing, but we are expensive. We're a luxury caterer. By the way, David, I'm noticing that all of those bottles behind you are either empty or completely. Is that what goes on over there? You really are a party person.
Bob, I'm going to tell you, you've been in this business as long as I have or longer.
Yeah.
You need that to get through.
Yeah. Yes. It's so okay. So we start at about $35 and we go to I don't know, and so that gives you a some kind of idea of what we're talking about. Let's go back into that one thing. What's that one, if you can narrow it down, and this is going to be a hard one, And, if you want to bring in help, we could bring in help. But if you could think of that one hook, if I were to say to you, with all the people in Westchester, why do people come to New York Hospitality Group for an event? What is it? What's that one thing or three things that set you apart from everybody else, if you were to list them? David.
Well, what sets us apart, and I get a lot of feedback from my clients. My corporate clients obviously use multiple caterers. Well, I'm going to say there's two things. One is the service from our office. When people call, we call them back. We're very responsive. We're a full service stop in Westchester, which is great, very rare. We've had competition since COVID that has fallen off on full service caterers that, do your rentals, are almost a New York City caterer in Westchester. So our service from the office point of view and the planning aspect sets us aside. And also, we get a lot of positive comments on our food. Chef Rob Gerso took over our culinary operations about 2 years ago. And he's well known throughout the city. He is a White Plains resident. We're lucky enough to have teamed up with him. And he's done some great things. And we have had wonderful food over 30 years. But I think that we're just getting some really nice comments coming out of the COVID kind of stages, doing large scale events, that the food is just awesome. And that's really setting us aside from other companies that can do the small scale, really good food, but can you turn it out for 1,000 people and can it be good? And that's what we're really known for. All different scales. We'll do a small event up to, thousands and thousands and thousands. I've done events for 10,000 people. The food is always good. And that's one thing that keeps people coming back to us.
You touched on something, or at least you touched on something in my mind that is interesting. We have 3 different groups, 3 different price points, and we have 3 different demographics of people that come and dial that phone. But those 3 different types of people have one thing in common. Whether it is for 25 people or 1,000 people, at that moment, that event is the most important thing that's going on in their lives. We have the psychology on how do you deal with someone whose center of their world they're putting in your lap. Erica, why don't you start with that?
Sorry, what's the question?
The question is, you have now, no matter what the price point, no matter what where that station in life that person is, when they call you on the phone or have their assistant call you on the phone, whoever it may be, that night is the most important thing in their lives, because they're inviting people they really care about to be there. How do you handle that person? What is the hand-holding process from phone call to give me your check?
Again, it's just making them very aware that you are always there for them. I tell every single one of my clients that come through, you can reach me. I've got a 1-year-old daughter at home. I also have another job on the side of this doing social media, working for Instagram. Like, I've got a lot going on. But when I'm dealing with a client, I am there directly for that client for whatever it may be. I let them know they can reach me through text message, they can call me, they can email me. Great thing about our company is that it's me running it. So I can pick up the phone any point of the day. If I've got a frantic client, I'm making sure that I am right there with them, letting them know that they are not alone. Again, this is the reason why we do what we do, to make sure that we are taking care of everything. and we let them breathe. We let them relax and sit back and say, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. It is in our hands. It's just that reassurance that they have somebody behind them that's not going to let anything happen, that's not going to let them fall. And I will never let that happen to any of my clients. I never have, I never will. I've been in this industry for 17 years. I've been running my company for a little over 2.5. I've never had a slip up like that. And we also take care of the event planning side. So we are making sure that if there are any fires, I'm the one putting it out. The client doesn't even know about them.
Yep. You know, Bob, you if you haven't been on Bob's website, you should definitely go there. Pinch. What's the full name of your company, Bob?
Pinch Food Design.
Pinch Food Design. When I mentioned that Bob basically just works in food theater, take a look. So how your people, they're spending, they're not any more anxious than David's people who are spending $35 a head. But how do you deal with somebody that's spending $300-$500 a plate? How do you deal with somebody like that who has this? How do you get it from idea to concept to reality? How do you hold their hand through this? And what is the process?
David, I didn't know Rob Garceau ended up with you. I love that guy.
So do I.
That is so cool. Please tell him I said hello and give him a hug for me.
I will.
We were in the same catering book. There were the hot, that hot box.
Yes, I know it well.
Yeah. Him and I were in it, and we did the book tour together, as well as he's worked for some companies that I worked for back in the day. Anyway, sorry.
I will tell him, Bob.
Larry, to your question about expectations, it's a tremendous responsibility to be there on someone's wedding day or their launch of their store or whatever type of anniversary the corporation might have. And I think that from the minute someone emails us or calls us, our goal is to exceed their expectations with efficiency, clarity, suggestions, literally pick them up off the boat, as in the White Lotus, and carry them completely through the whole process to where when they show up at their event, they don't have to worry. All they have to do is field compliments from their guests and all the checks that someone's going to give them to donate to their gala or whatever it is, until we lock the door. And we just want to make sure it's a absolutely seamless, luxurious experience. I mean, we've all had those in our lives, and exceeding expectations is the key.
Okay. And David, I've been to very large events that you people have catered. ARC, which was a very large event. And the beauty of it is everything ran so smoothly. We didn't even know you were there. It didn't even know you were there. Food appeared. Things were there. You wanted something, it was there. How do you design and maintain something like that for a group that big?
Well, we have a great team of experienced chefs, in the front of the house, as well as, someone like me, Michelle. There's people that have been training along the way, that we understand through making a lot of mistakes over the years, how not to make a mistake and things that hold. We understand execution. Like Bob said, there's a whole technique and a book that Bob was part of it with our executive chef on how to cook in a hot box with sterno. So you have to, over the years, you understand what product holds. You understand how to present it. You understand the pace of the event, right? How many people are going to be passing the hors d'oeuvres? How many people are going to be on the station? So when you start pacing your staff, this is through experience, Larry. So when you're planning, it's a master plan, right? Like anything else in business. it's just the master plan of the event, and it's all staged right from the food to how it's prepared, what vessel it goes on, how many pieces you're going to present. It's 100% planning. I always try to express to people in my office that everything is on paper before we go into the event. Everything that happens is going to be on paper, and that's how it's going to follow through on that day.
And
So
read
there's
the paper.
right, and read read the paper and see the plans. And and I walked in on large events, my hands are all over them, and I'm very detailed on how those things are going to be executed.
Yeah.
So that's exactly how you do it.
You brought something to light which kicked me into another one of our virtual breakfast sessions. David's partner and the muse of New York Hospitality Group. I call him the Sage of White Plains. Peter Herrero has said over and over, if you can't measure it, you can't management. When David talks about planning, we are planning every step, and not just in their heads, and not just they talk about it. It is all recorded, it is all measured, it is all followed so that it is 100% profitable.
But Larry, I have a question that goes back to something that Bob said earlier. So when you start to talk about measuring, do you start to get away from the creativity that we've discussed? How does creativity and out of the box thinking and creating things that people have not seen on menus before, et cetera,
Well,
where does that fit in with measurement?
Well, a party is a live being. We've all gone to parties since high school, and we know that they all end up in not exactly as planned. There can be a what's it called? The best man. The best man who gives a 1-hour speech, and meanwhile you're warming your meat in the back. There can be spillage. There can be so many different things can go wrong at a party. And like David's saying, is that we have systems for those. When they happen, we know they're going to happen. We anticipate a lot of that stuff happen, but you have a paper, and I always call catering an 80% business. Everything that you do works 80%. The other 20% is hopefully you can do some improv at your events. And most of our waiters are either actors or, they've been in show business, and this is show business, and you have to roll with the punches. I'll never forget, I was working for Glorious Food back in the 80s. And at that time we were doing French service. Sorry, that's my speaker. Okay, so we were doing French service, and it was at the Council of Foreign Relations, and the tables were too close together. And when waiters were French serving the veal with a fork and a spoon, they bumped each other, and huge steaks flew up in the air and landed on people's dresses. And there was sauce, and what was amazing was that as the warm meat was soaking into, like, let's say this woman's back shoulder, the waiter used a fork and a spoon to pull it off of her shoulder, as opposed to just like grabbing it. So even French service happened in that, and it was like a nice experience. And
for who? Wasn't very nice for her.
I think she's been telling the story. She definitely got.
Okay, so she's got a life story here.
Got a life. Yeah,
that's wonderful. I have to break in because we do have a question from the audience. Unmute yourself, Charles. Chef Charles,
how are you?
You have a question.
Yes, I'm Chef Charles from Exquisite Catering Cuisine here in Suffolk County, Long Island, New York. Erica, this question is kind of for you because we have similar companies. I am a chef that travels throughout Suffolk and Nassau County, doing private dinners on the fine dining realm, and our starting price is about $175. In your process of doing an event and completing an event, what do you do after that event? How do you get more referrals? Because our price point is so high, I find that people are reducing the amount of parties they have because of their spend. How are you enticing people to do that second and third party with you or referring you out to other clients?
Thank you for the question. A lot of our clientele are repeats. I've got a client coming up in 2 weeks that has booked with us 5 times in 6 months. Main thing, our food. I have to say, the quality of our food and the level of expectation that we are held to, we have a certain standard that we have to oblige by on every plate. It doesn't matter if we're doing 1,000 people or if we're doing 10 people, you're getting the exact same quality of food. A lot of our referrals are by word of mouth on just, hey, I had this amazing dinner party. You got to check these chefs out. Again, with our company, we are so separate from what anybody in Toronto is doing. And that's the biggest thing that really separates us from every other catering company here is that, like I said, we are so custom, we are so personal, right down to the decor. Like we are finding ways every single day that we can just push the envelope a little bit further. We're constantly taking risks. Our main focus is the food, but we are also figuring out ways that we can get into that event planning because it's a different area where we can pull in more business and then tie in our catering company. So I'm constantly talking to different event planners. I'm reaching out daily. I'm reaching out to at least 10 different companies, whether it be through LinkedIn, Yelp, different social media platforms, Facebook, really whoever I can find. If I see event planner on your name, I'm reaching out to you. I'm trying to talk to you. I talk to different wine companies, wineries here in Toronto as well. It's just constant outreach. Like it's a never ending battle of kind of giving the same speech over and over and over again of introducing who you are. It's making people aware that you're there.
Okay. That answer your question,
Thank you.
Charles?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Did you have a part 2?
I did have a part 2. So similar to you, you're in a state of where you are the custom caterer in your area. I used to be that probably about 10 years ago. Since COVID, now everyone seems to be a private chef and going into people's homes here in Suffolk and Nassau County. We only receive 5-star reviews for our food and presentation. What are you going to do when people start catching up to or copying what you're doing in your area? How are you going to proceed further to keep separating yourself from the competition?
Bob, why don't you answer that one? Let's give Bob a chance with this one. Bob? Ooh, there's a whole bunch of you.
I wanted to change my virtual background. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, no, we have a product that's completely separate, but there's a lot of people now that are doing similar things. I mean, we came out with a book 10 years ago. With a DIY book on how to do it, and a lot of people are doing what we are doing with food and design. But I think that innovation, the pressure to innovate is like always going to be there. I remember at the very beginning when I started my other catering company 30 years ago, I thought, well, we got a request here for an African menu and then another one for an Indian menu. And I'll just put those in a file and I'll use those menus when someone requests those. And here I am 37 years later, still making custom menus. Like you never get to the point where your work has already been done, and the pressure is on, especially here in New York City, the pressure is always on, and but I'm interested that I don't spend a lot of attention, a lot of time focusing on what other people are doing. I'm constantly figuring out what I could do better. So I was developing 2 new hors d'oeuvres with a really cool tray, because my idea was to take a cube of food and stand it on its corner. How can we do that? Because we want to serve something that is dangerous. We want the guests to think, ooh, how can I grab that? And have some sort of feeling. And so I'm always sort of focused on that and what's magical, and what I can do. And I think that is the same thing for in your food, is that there's so much happening. And the greatest thing about catering compared to a restaurant is, with restaurant, you sort of have to stick to your style. With catering, you can be all over the place. You know, there's so many different menus. You know, one day you go, you know what, we're Greek today, and I'm going to do, you know, this incredible salad with carob rusk and buffalo feta, and that's what I'm going to do. And as opposed to a restaurant, you sort of have to adhere to, no, we're Italian, we have to stay Italian. What are you doing? So I don't know if that answers the question.
That answer, you basically, what you're saying is, don't look back, always look forward.
Larry,
Always look.
one of the questions I want to ask, I saw that that Diane DeLucia is on with us,
Yes,
who's
she
very
was.
much involved with Diane, are you still there?
I don't see her name.
Okay.
She's on the screen.
Okay. But what I wanted to get her thoughts on, we just talked a little bit about.
Hey there.
Hi.
Hi,
What do you
Diane.
do? What do you do when the business changes? And so one of the things that's out there is competing with our restaurants and our caterers is a country club sector that's aggressively going after this business as well. So I'd love to get Diana's thoughts on what a restaurant can do to compete with the club business, or to learn from what club managers are doing, et cetera, as they go out and they compete for the things that Erica, et cetera, are out there trying to get in their portfolio every day.
Well, I think COVID has really changed the event space altogether for golf and country clubs, and probably city clubs. And, you know, a lot of private clubs the members have stopped doing outside events during the pandemic, and now they've realized that, oh, we can go to the club, and the clubs are just doing events upon events upon events, day in, day out. They've never, ever had this much business with outside events. A lot of clubs are hosting events where they would never have given that opportunity to anyone outside the club before, unless they're a member or a guest of a member. But in the event space, I think what works really well for clubs is that is all they're doing. So they've got a team in place that's just so good at running events, and they might have 5 events going on simultaneously. They might have a giant, like I was at one recently that was sponsored by Berenberg Bank, which was massive, and they have the budgets to bring out these massive marquee tents and put in dance floors and lights and pull it all down overnight. But it's kind of like a one-stop shop if you want to have an event. So I think that space is going to stay. I think it's going to become more popular.
So my question is, how can a caterer compete or learn from what clubs are doing successfully? What ideas have you seen? What are is a one-stop shop? Is that the answer? What do you see as an answer or a solution that's a takeaway to compete with clubs that are in your marketplace?
That's a hard question to answer, because I was actually talking to Charles last week about that very thing. And because I'm not in the actual event space outside of the clubs, but what I can see is maybe you're always chasing the next client, whereas the club, they're just coming to you. So you got to figure out how to get them to come to you like they would a private golf club that's got everything established. It's already there. There's no moving things all around except getting food and catering. That's usually on premise. So I'm not sure. Maybe there can be some kind of local
Yeah.
club.
Erica, do you work with clubs, or are clubs inclusive and do their own thing?
No, we don't actually.
Okay.
Clubs generally have like their own little specific niche that they work with. Sometimes we'll get outreach from, you know, members only. Like we partnered up with like a wine club.
Yeah.
That is a very high end club for wine connoisseurs. They've got like over 60,000, you know, vintage bottles. They're looking for those luxury chefs that they can bring in to kind of match with them. But like golf clubs and stuff like that, they generally have somebody on site who's doing it, or they've got a small list. They're not looking for the luxury lifestyle. If they are, sometimes we'll get outreach, but it's not likely.
Okay, so it's more of
Okay.
a wedding and bar mitzvah type of business than it
Yeah,
is a. Okay.
Yeah, those clubs are somebody that, like, you know, I mean, when I got married, my family is very Jewish, and for them it was very much like, oh, we know this place, this place, this place, this place, this place. There was 5 different places in Toronto that's very well known for doing these things. But every single one that I went to, I was like, okay, so what can I do for the food? And they're like, well, we have our own, you know, chefs on site that will prepare the menu.
Yep.
I wasn't looking for that for my wedding. I wanted something that was completely custom. So I had to go outside of the clubs, and I had to find, you know, basically a blank canvas of an area that I could use as my wedding venue so that I could bring in whoever I wanted to bring in.
Okay. You know, I see events and catering too in the future. We have a lot more to say, but we have no more time to say it. So I want to thank everyone for attending, for being on the panel. And in the last 5 minutes, what I'd like to do is go around the room and give your last, you know, something to take away, something to put in the people's heads that they will keep with them, and think about catering and think about you folks. So David, why don't you start?
Thanks, Larry. So, you know, a takeaway, a little touch point. I'm going to go back a little bit that we were talking about. You know, how do we make our new customer or our customer calling us feel good about us? It's about bonding and rapport. And any business, especially in catering, it's the bonding and rapport. It's selling to the pain, establishing trust. And it really is asking a lot of questions from your potential client to establish that bond. If this is a takeaway for anyone in this business and industry or in any other industry, it's really work on your sales technique with your team or even yourself. Take classes. I know, Larry, you're a big fan of the Sandler system, which this is a part of. But establish that relationship. And I know it sounds crazy, but you sell to the fear, you sell to the pain, and they're going to trust you. So if anything you take away today, it's really it's working on your sales system.
Thank you. Erica.
Yeah, my takeaway today, I'm going to agree with David. You know, it's that sales system it comes before the food. It's so important because that's the first initial meeting with your client. You constantly want to work on that relationship. You want to work on, you know, how timely you're answering emails, how timely you're answering phone calls, how you respond to the guest questions. Really, again, you know, letting the client know that you are there for them, making them feel like there's nobody else in the world. It's just them, because that's ultimately what the client wants. They want to feel special, and they want to feel like I'm the only person in the world. So you have to let them feel that way. You have to let them know that you are strictly there for them. And then comes the food, and then comes your innovation, constantly making sure that you are on top of, you know, the trends that are happening, showing people that, you know, you are right there with everybody else, but you're better. And you can constantly be better because you're constantly working on yourself. And that's the biggest thing. Work on yourself. Yourself comes first. Work on your company. Everything else will follow.
Thank you. Bob.
Well, COVID when COVID hit, there were no parties. Like literally, parties were the most illegal thing that you could do, is have a gathering of 10 people, and all of the caterers, we were all talking, and everybody's like, when we come out of this, it's going to be like the Roaring '20s. People are going to be partying like crazy. And I'm like, yeah, sure, but like, how am I going to make payroll and all of that? And now 2022, viva la fiesta! It's party time. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Everybody is busy. There are parties like crazy. My biggest takeaway is keep partying, party hard, party like it's 2022. Let's do it.
Thank you, Prince.
I'm coming to New York.
Mike,
I don't know how to follow that one.
that's why I picked you.
Thank you so much. But here's some of the things that, as I was taking some summaries of all the things that you said, I'll just leave with this. Planning and execution, really critical. Treating your client, understanding the customer experience at all times, and making sure that they have the absolute best customer experience is critical. And then innovation and creativity are really key ingredients of your work. And then lastly, to pick up Bob's thing, this is show business.
Okay. And Fred.
I want to thank everybody for participating. I think what a great lesson. And then it's just so exciting to see the return of the party.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. When I go out to eat on a Friday night or a Saturday night or whatever night, I'm going out for good food. But the second I invite friends, family, have an event, something catered, basically I want good food, but what I'm looking for is trust. It's not just me anymore. It's people I care about. And basically what we are is we're in the trust business. The first thing you sell, we talked about food, we talked about venue, we talked about, the event. No, what we sell is trust. We sell is trust. You're going to trust me with the 5, 10, 500, 1,000 most important people in your life that night. And so that's a heavy weight on your shoulders, but obviously the 3 people here have done that, and I commend you all for it. So hopefully you trust me enough to come back in 2 weeks and see our next event. Our next event will be health and wellness in the workplace, and it is something that is very, very important. One thing that everybody here will tell you, that it is hard to get help. It is, the excuse is, we're short a person. We're short a person. What happens if, because of some accident or sickness, you're down a man on a Saturday night? 1 or 2 people don't show up, or like in David's case, everybody goes down in one night. Everyone goes down in one night. It is taxing, to say the least. So hope to see you back here in 2 weeks. If you have any questions for any of the people, contact me, and I will make sure that your questions get answered. And in the meantime, I only have 2 more things to say. Everybody, keep positive and test negative.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, guys.
Bye now,
Everybody,
folks.
Thank you.
Bye.